Welcome back to the channel. I'm going to be doing a series of videos that this is going to be probably one of the first, if not the first, for beginners to radio. Whether you've got your license, whether you're just have the radio maybe, and you're looking for things to listen to. What do I hear? I can't find anything. What's going on? Where are the nets? I thought I'd hear people talking on the radio, but I'm hearing nothing. Get this a lot of times from new amateur radio operators that they'll get their radio and oh, how sad, the local repeaters are dead, there's no traffic. Okay, just take a step and breathe, because there are a few ways that you can find what and when to listen for, and the when is usually the big catch. um, Most nets happen in the evenings, some in the mornings, and probably fewer at midday, but there are a few time windows that you want to be looking at. First, if you have a radio or a scanner that can scan just the amateur bands of the 2 meter and the 440, even the 220 band you could do, but I've found 220 is usually pretty quiet, at least in our area. There's one repeater that can be a little, that I can pick up in one part of the county. But I would scan those bands, and I would look at specifically these times between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. in the evening, or between about 7 and 9 in the morning. And then the third choice would be between about 12 and 2. In Tennessee, we've got the W4KEV repeater system out in the middle of the state. Our closest is Greenville and then I guess Sevierville area, and so I'll pick up both of those areas. But they have a lunch bunch net that meets from 12 weekdays until they're done, which is sometimes 2. Sometimes I've heard people linger till 3 o'clock. It's a pretty big and active net. So those time spots are probably the most popular, and I've tried to put them in the order of popularity. Keep a pencil and paper handy so you can jot down the frequency, the day of the week, the time, and if you hear a description of the net, you can write down what it is. Like, oh, this is our Skywarn net for this county, or this is our club net for this group, or this is a buy-sell trade net. Anyway, so you can make some notes that way. I like to use the Notes app on my phone. That's really handy for me so that I can just make a quick note, 147.79 this time, and this is what I heard. And you're going to assume that it's probably a once a week net. There are exceptions to that. Some of them might meet 3 weeks out of the month. Some of them might only meet 1 week out of the month. Listen and see. Some, like the Lunch Bunch, is every weekday. Listen and see what they say about what they're doing next time. So if you pay attention, you'll pick up on all of that. Second big way is if you do have your local repeaters programmed into the radio and you're sure that you've got them correctly programmed with the tones, go ahead and just scan the local repeaters at those times. Same times. 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. is prime time, and most of the nets are really between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. So think about drive time and prime time TV. Those are the big, most popular windows here. My Google Calendar has a bunch, and my evenings have a big block of all of them kind of overlapping. You can filter things in Google Calendar, by the way. You can categorize events, and so you don't have to have them all print out all the time. You can do that to just keep list of them, or you can do a Word document. Sometimes what I'll do to print out and have with me is Monday, and then I've got the list. Tuesday, and then I've got that list, so that I've got a hard copy in case I needed it of when some of these groups meet. Now, a third way to do it is to look for your local radio clubs. So here we're in Washington County near Johnson City. And so you'd either look for Washington County Amateur Radio or Johnson City Amateur Radio. In our case, it's Johnson City. Kingsport, up to our north in Sullivan County, also has an amateur radio club, as does Bristol. It can be by city or it can be by county. If you're in a larger metro area, it's probably by the city. But then there's also the Carter County Amateur Radio Club to our southeast. And then there's the Greene County Amateur Radio Club over to our west, which I think goes by the name Andrew Johnson Amateur Radio Club, because that's the birthplace of Andrew Johnson. Um, so do some searching for your amateur radio clubs. On their sites, you're going to find probably a listing of the nets and the on-air activities. Sometimes these can be really stale, sometimes they're updated. It's hit or miss. But make a note of those, add them into your list, and then listen and see if it's correct. You're gonna find some things this way, and you'll find the ones that are the most active. And it'll take maybe a week or two before you really kind of settled in and feel like you've found the really active nets. Now, a fourth way you can do is you can ask people that you know. If they're into radio, if they're into GMRS, amateur radio, ham radio, they will tell you, oh, hey, you need to listen to the buy-sell trade net, the swap net over on this frequency. We always meet Friday night at 8 p.m. It's, they get 100 check-ins every week. You just need to be a part of it. Okay, so that's another way to do it. Yet another way is on repeater directory. There are notes for some repeaters, and sometimes you will find in the notes field that they will tell you, oh, there's a net for this amateur radio club at 8 p.m. Fridays, or at 2 p.m. Tuesday. It's probably not 2 p.m., but you know what I mean. So you'll get a listing for some of them. Now, I've found repeater directory is not consistent with this because it's all based on user input. And so if you want repeater directory to be better there, why don't you submit some notes and reports there to help others out too. I like the idea of submitting signal reports there so that people know what kind of coverage some of the repeaters have. So there are some ideas. And then the last idea I've got for you is, if you really can't find any nets, let me throw this idea out. Get with some of your friends that also are into radio and set a time to meet at the local repeater and do your own net. You got to start somewhere. Maybe each of these guys that you're talking to can bring somebody else. Maybe somebody else will be doing what I've mentioned and just scanning the band and find it and say, hey, this is great. Yeah, this is a topic I'd like to talk about. Sometimes nets will be just the club net. Sometimes there'll be the swap meet net. Sometimes I've heard emergency preparedness nets. I've also heard technical nets where people are just kicking problems back and forth and saying, hey, I've got a problem with my Yaesu and it's doing this and this, and has anybody seen anything like that before? What should I try to fix it? Is it done? What's going on? And sometimes somebody on the net will be able to help them. And so even if you don't know much, you probably know more than somebody that hasn't started. And so think about starting your own net. I've heard somebody doing a Bible study net here on one of our local repeaters. That's a neat idea too. Get people involved and come up with different topics. I know there's one or two nets that the topic varies by the day of the week. I've heard trivia on some of our local nets. They do trivia games. Really kind of fun stuff. So make your list. Try and keep those notes. Gather from a lot of different sources, either your own scanning from the local club sites, and see what you can find on the air. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be some activity in your area. So with that much said, thank you for stopping by. Thanks for tuning in today. Be sure to like and subscribe and drop a comment here if you've got other ideas for finding nets. I think there are some directories maybe with AARL, which comes to mind, which is yet another idea. And while you're at it, if you're looking to upskill, if you're looking to move from technician to general or general to extra, or learn more about shortwave, or maybe you've got a new radio, a Baofeng, and you don't know how to use it, or you want to learn emergency communications, there is a place for you, and it's Ham Radio Prep, and I am happy to be able to tell you that you can get a 10% discount on their courses by using our code, which is RadioComms, RADIOCOMMS, and and if you use that code, you'll get 10% off at checkout, and we get a little bit from it. Thank you so much for that. Once again, any comments, drop them here. Like, subscribe, and share, and thank you for checking back again soon. You all take care.